My name is Mark van Rijmenam. I am a future tech strategist, also known as the digital speaker. I think and talk and write about emerging technologies and how they change organizations and society, and recently also the metaverse, because I have just published my fourth book called Step into the Metaverse. And this book is really all about what the metaverse actually is or actually can become. How it will affect organizations, how it will affect society, how it will change what it means to be human, but also what the economics of the metaverse are, what the role of NFTs is, but also what the dangers of the metaverse are, because the metaverse is certainly not without dangers. And I take a look into sort of the future of the metaverse, how it's going to look like 10, 15 years from now, and how it will completely change our society. And that is absolutely going to be a wild ride. So I think a fascinating topic, very important, because the immersive internet is the next iteration of the internet. It is a paradigm shift that everyone should be aware of, and should understand how it's going to affect them.
Sure. Well, thanks. It's a fascinating topic, and obviously you are expert, having recently published your book about the metaverse, Step into the Metaverse. Just checking the title. I have my own copy. Thanks very much. I guess from the point of view of BigONE exchange, investors or traders, what they'd most be interested in is thinking ahead in terms of, this kind of digital economy side of it. How important is the metaverse going to be in terms of the cryptocurrencies, maybe using it for trading, that side of things, that crypto economy? What's your thoughts on that, Mark?
Sure. So my idea is that crypto will make the metaverse go round. So crypto is absolutely crucial for the metaverse, because it will be used in any of the millions of communities, any of the many virtual experiences that we have. But there's a very big but, only if we are talking about an open metaverse. If we are a closed walled garden, which is owned and controlled by the likes of Zuckerberg, there's no need for crypto whatsoever. There's no need for NFTs. We can just use centralized exchanges, centralized tools and assets, etc. But obviously that's not my hope that we end up like that, because I think it would be very bad for society if we end up in like the snow crash or like Ready Player One scenario. We need an open metaverse. That's also how I wrote the book, what the different components and characteristics are of an open metaverse. And within such an open metaverse, we control our own data, we control our own digital assets, we control our own identity. And that's where NFTs are going to play a crucial role, because NFTs allow us to, for the first time, truly prove the ownership of a particular digital asset. And similar to in the physical world, if you're able to prove the ownership of a physical asset, it means you can then start to monetize it. So if you have a house and you can prove that you own that house, then this house moves from just a place for shelter to something that you can monetize. You can mortgage it. You can put it up as collateral, so you can get more money, so you can expand your house, or you can build a business. And the same applies with digital assets. If we now have the opportunity to prove that a particular asset, digital asset, is truly ours, we can then start to monetize it. We can, sell it. We can rent it. We can mortgage it. We can use it as collateral. We can monetize it by dropping it into a DeFi protocol. And I think that's absolutely mind-blowing. The fact that we have the ownership, the proof of ownership, a particular digital asset, really comes with utility, obviously, that you not only own the JPEG, but you also own the copyright and the IP rights with it, so you can actually use it. I think that will completely change how our society runs in the coming decades.
Right. I mean, I was struck. I don't know if you saw the recent announcement from Immutable, with their innovation allowing you to take NFTs across blockchains. I thought that was interesting, because I thought that was a particularly good solution fit for the kind of interoperable metaverse you're talking about. Does that strike you as a good innovation, where you're allowed to take those NFTs across chains? I mean, what do you think still has to happen for the metaverse in those kind of digital economy terms to actually function in a way that's really going to make it something amazing for everyone?
Yeah, well, I think this interoperability is key, and you need to be able to take your asset that you own from one platform to another platform, regardless of where on which blockchain it resides. So I think that is a crucial component. So if you can take your asset from Fortnite to Roblox to Decentraland to the Sandbox to whichever platform you can think of, then we are moving away from the current system, which is very much value extraction, but we're moving to a system of value creation, where that particular NFT, let's say that skin that you won or earned in Fortnite, and that you used in one of those famous battles in Fortnite, and you can then use it in Decentraland, for example. And I think and then you can sell it on a decentralized exchange, and it has money. It has value because it has the scratch marks of that particular fight in Fortnite, and it's proof of that. Then we start to create an asset which actually has value and actually creates value over time. And I think that's one of the things that we need to move to. The other thing, which I briefly touched upon in my book as well, is Soulbound tokens, which basically tokens which are NFTs which are bound to you, which you cannot trade, because you should not be able to trade every NFT. For example, if we are linking turning your exam from your master's education, for example, or your bachelor's education into an NFT, you don't want to be able to sell that, on the secondary market, because that's the point of going to uni then. And that's also a development which just recently is coming to the limelight. And I think that's also an important development that needs to be done. But other than that, I think NFTs are crucial for the immersive internet.
So tell me, that's a good point you raise about Soulbound tokens. I've heard a little bit about that, but for people listening to this right now, why is that different from your the kind of tradable NFT that you might use for like gaming costumes that you want to sell on an exchange? What's the distinction with this so-called Soulbound token?
Well, I think the distinction is very much that it's linked to your wallet, to you as a person. Just an example of your certificate from your university, which you studied 4 years for, paid a lot of money for it. You don't want to then be able to sell it or let other people buy it for like a fraction of the cost, and anyone can just have a university degree from MIT. That's not something that we want to have. Or a POAP, a proof of attendance token, where you have an NFT that proves that you have been to a certain event, and with that NFT you can then go to a shop, for example, to the sponsor, and that gives you discount of on a particular product. Obviously, you don't want that those proof of attendance tokens become available to the highest bidder, because then what's the point of it, and then it loses also the value for the sponsor. So these are two simple examples where tradability is not required, is not desirable actually. I think that's where the Soulbound token comes into play. It's very recent development, but I think that's a crucial development.
Sure. Yeah, I see the point. That's good to touch on that. Thanks, Mark. Now, I guess there's a lot of fine idealistic talk about the interoperable metaverse, but coming from the cryptocurrency world, it's not words but actions that count. And in terms of cryptocurrencies, it's about which I guess to coin a phrase, which coin will rule them all. I mean, is the metaverse going to be like owned by Zuckbucks? Should it be run based on a selection of stable coins or meme coins like Dogecoin? Or is it going to be see those competing? How do you see the kind of the match with currencies and the metaverse working? What's your vision on that?
Yeah, so my vision is not necessarily aligned with what I strive for, what I hope, if that sort of makes sense. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, it's very well possible that we end up in a closed metaverse owned by the Zuckerbergs of this world, where we then use the Zuckerberg to pay for all our assets, and it's fully controlled by Mr. Zuckerberg himself, who has a complete idea about what's going on. Snow Crash and Ready Player One. The metaverse, everyone is talking about the metaverse, will be built using Web3, but there's absolutely no need for the metaverse to be built on Web3. We can perfectly build the metaverse on Web2 technology. In fact, it's actually easier. But obviously, we don't want that, and we shouldn't want that, because I think that would be extremely problematic if, with the amount of data that's being collected in the metaverse. I think it would be very, very problematic if that would end up in the hands of the few big tech firms that already have so much data about us. Now, to answer your question in terms of the crypto, obviously, I hope and strive for that we create an open metaverse, where, as I mentioned at the start, crypto, makes what makes the metaverse go round. And I think that we'll have millions of cryptocurrencies in the metaverse, of which 99.9% probably is irrelevant for the masses. These cryptocurrencies, they live in the tiny communities, in a small decentralized autonomous organization, in very small environments maybe. But the interesting thing is that allows us as a society, as humanity, to have millions of opportunities to create something better. Because the current system that we have of fiat money is not necessarily the best solution that we have. It's a solution that we have today, but is it the best solution? Is it the best solution that we can ever come up with? Probably not. With having millions of opportunities to come up with a new solution for how we exchange value, I think that's super exciting. As I said, the majority of these cryptos will not be traded by the masses, or will not be used by the masses. But sometimes we'll see that there will be cryptocurrencies that have developed this perfect economic system, and then they grow and they come into they become more liquid, and they can become more usable. And I find it super exciting. The fact that we have, as a humanity, we have so many opportunities to create something better than we have today. And where this will take us, I don't know. It very much depends on, of course, how governments are going to regulate this. Generally, governments don't like this kind of bottom-up approach because they want to keep control. With a central bank currency, you see that already happening in China. And they're really trying to push that because it offers them full control of the society. But again, even a central bank currency, digital currency, might not be the best solution. There might be better solutions, and the fact that we have so many opportunities now to try that out in the years to come, I think is really exciting.
All right. Okay. Well, I like what you're saying. I'm curious though, in terms of actual presence on the future metaverse, interoperable metaverse, do you see crypto exchanges, banks, stock exchanges all moving in a sense into the metaverse, or will it be a bit like the early days of the web, where you used to just kind of create a kind of virtual version of the the offline world, or do you think the metaverse will give some kind of new look and feel, some new kind of added value that you wouldn't get otherwise with those kind of financial institutions, whether they're centralized or decentralized? What's your vision about that? Because that's kind of interesting.
Well, I think that very much depends on how the technology develops. The metaverse, the way I see it, is of course the convergence of the physical and the digital world. Where the physical moves into the digital, and the digital moves into the physical. How we are going to interact with that channel, that is very much up for grabs. We can maybe use smartphones. I personally think that smartphone will disappear in the next decade or so, because we use smart glasses, which is a lot more intuitive. Laptops, I don't need a laptop anymore because I have my smart glasses. I can spin up just like 5 screens in front of me, and now it doesn't cost any I don't have to buy them. It's a lot more sustainable. I don't have to bother anyone. It has a lot of advantages. So we are going to move to a way of interacting with the metaverse, which is a lot more intuitive for humanity. Akin 3D. Humans are made for 3D. We're not made for 2D. So I think how that will pan out, I think that is, I don't know yet. I have some ideas of how this can work, but I think once we start to operate in an immersive internet, which is 3D, and we don't no longer have these 2D objects such as a smartphone, a tablet, or a desktop, it will completely change the way how we interact. And similar to the fact that when the first mobile apps came out, we created these apps. People, you could drink a beer with your iPhone. You might remember that. Totally ridiculous, but fun at the time. And that was just us, people just trying to, explore and see what's possible with this new concept of mobile apps. And I think the same thing will happen with the metaverse, where we have this 3D immersive environment that we interact with through smart glasses, smart lenses, or maybe directly with our brain 20 years from now. And I think that will completely change. It will come up with completely new applications that we can't even think of today. It will truly be magical.
Right. Yeah, like Arthur C. Clarke said, to something around
Yes.
The technology and magic being, virtually indistinguishable. Got it. Nice point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. So from like, I don't know if you've seen recent debates about Apple telling their employees to go back to the real office rather than working remotely. And it struck me as a bit odd, considering they're leading technologists, supplying devices that allow you to work, in the cloud, virtually. But they obviously saying that in the real world, you've got serendipity, you've got conversations that you're going to miss out on if you're working remotely. It's a bit of a kind of a thought ahead about the metaverse, but maybe the metaverse will be able to offer that. That's those kind of human interactions that are important when in whether it's in financial exchanges or just having fun. What's your thoughts on that? Is that maybe where the metaverse has got something to offer where working remotely kind of lacks at the moment?
100%. Actually, I covered this in my book as well. How the metaverse will change working from home and moves it into working from anywhere, because it will remove the barriers between physically present at the office and digitally present in the office. Let me give you an example. 10 years from now, 12 years from now, most likely, we can have a boardroom meeting where like 3 members of the board are physically present in an office somewhere in the world, let's say London, and 3 other board members are digitally present from wherever they want to be in the world. They can even be on the moon for that matter. It doesn't really matter. But those present in the physical boardroom, they are digitally streamed as hyper-realistic avatars to the virtual reality boardroom, the virtual boardroom where the other boardroom members are, and using camera systems and mocap, and facial recognition. The hyper-realistic avatars in the virtual world are exactly the same as the physical persons in the physical boardroom. Same applies for the hyper-realistic avatars in virtual reality. They are holographically projected in the meeting room. Mimicking the exact movement, exact facial expressions and everything. So the lines start to blur between the physically present and digitally present. And I think once we have reached that stage, and we will reach that stage 100%. I'm currently working on creating my own digital human, which is really cool, but also a bit scary, a bit uncanny. But it is, so it's a matter of time. I'm not saying this is going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years, but 10, 15 years from now, we will have this possibility where I can just put on my glasses, be physically present in the meeting room, and I see my boardroom members just like they are physically there. And we have a system which is already being used in large stadiums around the world to have a 360 capture of what's happening. We have it in the boardroom meeting, and all our movements are being captured and broadcasted in real time in virtual reality. So for me, this is going to happen. Once we reach that stage, it really doesn't matter anymore where you live, because you can be physically or digitally present, so to say, which is a horrible word, digital, but it's sort of, that's what it is. And I think, once we've reached that stage when it no longer matters where you are, you can also meet digitally at the water cooler,
Right.
Why not? You can still have that serendipity. And then once you have that, and then we combine it with being paid in crypto, you start to think, what's the effect of that? When you can live wherever you want, you can work wherever you want, you get paid in whatever crypto you want, you pay taxes wherever you want. Are you going to be loyal to a country, to a nation state, or are you going to be more loyal to a virtual world? I don't know. These are all kind of, this is it's highly philosophical, of course, but these are kind of things that could happen 10, 15 years from now.
Right. Well, that's something to be thinking about way on into the future, for sure. Interesting. But right now, and in researching your book, Step Into the Metaverse, Mark, what do which industries, are really driving? I mean, obviously we know about Facebook changing its name to Meta, but what industries, or what kind of interests are really driving the development of the metaverse right now in 2022?
So from a consumer perspective, it's very much marketing organizations, marketing brands, luxury brands, digital fashion, who are exploring the metaverse. There are plenty of examples of digital fashion items being sold for a ridiculous amount of money. And it's a great way for those companies to explore what it means to step into the metaverse, and how can they interact with Generation Z, those born 1995 and later, or Generation Alpha, those born 2010 and later, because these generations, they are the metaverse natives. They have a different approach to socializing. They have a different approach to shopping. They have a different approach to working. And these people are not only your customers, they will also be your employees, your future employees. So you need to understand now already what this is going to mean for you as an organization. And the first organizations from a consumer perspective, are the luxury brands who are selling their digital fashion items in the various digital virtual worlds. But of course, we also see more enterprise, more manufacturing, where they use digital twins, which to me is also an important part of the metaverse. In fact, it's actually one of the foundational layers of the metaverse, where you can interact with the physical world and simulating what's happening. For example, Tesla, for every car that they sell, they create a digital twin where they can completely understand what's going on in real time, and they use that data to improve the Tesla for overall. That's already what you see happening, and that, to me, that's also part of the metaverse.
Right. And I guess gaming is a big part of why metaverse is looking so attractive. But obviously there are some real challenges there as well. I mean, just thinking about that right now, what do you see as kind of holding the potential or the growth of the metaverse back? Because obviously there's a lot of talk about it. There's a lot of serious work done by the likes of yourselves, Mark. But what do you think are the key obstacles right now to the growth of the metaverse?
Well, I think the main obstacle right now is building the metaverse. Somebody recently said, the internet, Web 2 so far was built by developers, and the metaverse will be built by game designers. And I think that's very much true. But developing a virtual world is like almost infinitely more harder, more difficult than building a website. When similar to when we had Web 1, building a website and hosting a website was really, really difficult. That's why we have all these centralized companies who made it really, really easy. And now we've reached the metaverse, which is very, very hard to build a virtual environment, to build immersive content. You need, as I said, I'm building my digital human. It's a pain. I need a super fast computer to be able to use my MetaHuman in Unreal Engine. I think that's the biggest obstacle. If you want to stream hyper-realistic volumetric data, you need high compute, low latency, high bandwidth, and you might have that at universities, but you certainly don't have that all around the world. So I think that of course, one is content creation, but content creation follows if the tools are available. And the tools are available, and Unreal Engine 5 is just absolutely amazing, but it's still really difficult. And there's still a very small group of people who can work with this technology. Right. And then if you can create the content, then you need to be able to deliver the content, which is a different ballgame altogether. So there are a lot of, I think the issues are predominantly technical, and which, we will overcome, no doubt. It might take 3, it might take 7 or 10 years, but we will overcome these issues. And by the time Unreal Engine 6 comes out, it's probably super easy to build a virtual world.
Right. Well, that sounds promising. I look forward to that. Obviously, just to wrap up our chat, and thanks again for giving us your time, because I know it's late in Sydney, Mark. What would you like to leave our listeners, viewers, BigONE Exchange, with our community? What takeaways, what thoughts would you like to leave with them as we close this chat?
Well, sure, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be on your show, Stuart. And it's, for me, the most important thing is we need to build an open metaverse. We've made the mistakes before with Web 1, where we were in control of creating our own website and hosting our own data server and having our own data. Then we made the mistake of sleepwalking into Web 2, where we have big tech controlling our lives and our data. Let's not make that same mistake again. We have sort of a blank canvas now to build the metaverse. We have technology pretty much ready, available to use. Web 3. Let's build this open metaverse. Let's not become dependent again on Mr. Zuckerberg and his colleagues, who I personally don't trust. And if we want to end up in a dystopian future, such as Ready Player One, that's keep sleeping and just enjoy all the seamless experiences that big tech offers, but at the same time we lose our control of our data and our digital identity. The way also I wrote my book Step into the Metaverse was by trying to offer sort of a blueprint for an open metaverse. How do we create that? And why is it so important that we create this? So if there's one thing that I want to give the listeners is, let's focus on building an open metaverse. Let's do whatever it takes to make that happen. And yes, it's harder work, but it will be more rewarding in the future.
Great. That's sound words from you, Mark. Thank you very much indeed.